Welcome to the July regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Lake Mills Area School District. The mission statement for the district is preparing all of today's students for tomorrow's opportunities. I would ask for verification of the meeting notice.
Verification.
Yes, it was posted on the LMASD website and at the Lake Mills Post Office and submitted to the Lake Mills Leader.
Thank you. Meeting was properly noticed. Ask if there's any revisions to the agenda.
I move the board approve the agenda as revised. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. I now call the meeting to order. I would ask if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could have a roll call, please.
Brianna Beslick. Here. Dawn Delaney. Here. Ken Eimers.
Here.
Amy Litcher.
Here.
Robert D'Imperio.
Here. All members are present. The first item on the agenda then is our board reports. Dr. Delaney, we have some correspondence.
Yes, we received a thank you letter from Lisa Radabaugh Lawton on her retirement from the school district.
Okay, thank you. And moving into administrative reports, Mr. Grendall, you have an update on summer school.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me here. Just a quick update on summer school. We are in our second session. We have 7 days of summer school left in our second session. Just some highlights. Our first session had 538 students participate in summer school. Our second session, we have 514. We have 169 students right now swimming and swim lessons at Sandy Beach, which was great last week Tuesday when it was 90 degrees and then it was 60 degrees. So we do some dry land stuff with swim lessons when that happens. But we've been pretty fortunate that we haven't had any lightning where we had to cancel swim lessons. We have 110, probably a little bit more than 110 athletes doing the weightlifting program. They started the first week right out of school. And they'll go to the end of July in the weightlifting program. Mr. Huber is doing a great job there. First session was our camp invention. We had 65 students, K through 5, doing our camp invention. Huge hit. I walked through the halls and the kids are like, I love camp invention. Teachers did great. We had Miss Resch, Mr. Riesgraf, Mrs. Meyer, and Mr. Manure did a fantastic job of having the kids invent and create as they went through. And it was fun watching them just take boxes and whatever they could get their hands on and create. Our remedial program right now, our K through 8 program, has 134 seats, some in our math and reading program. They'll be taking their second assessment here in the next couple days. So they took a pre-assessment, STAR assessment, and they'll take one at the end to see their growth over the summer. And parents will get a report back on how much they've grown over the summer in reading and math. Marching band participated in Town and Country Days. Last week we had 22 8th graders go to Washington, D.C. on a trip. And our middle school show choir and theater will be performing Annie on July 19th at 7 o'clock at the Performing Arts Center. And our elementary theater program is performing Barnyard Musical on July 20th at 7 p.m. too. So both our theater programs are going on. After the first day, after the board meeting, we made mask optional for students, and we've had no cases of COVID this summer. I just checked with our school nurse, and nothing has been reported to us on that case. So it's fun to walk around and see the smiling faces, especially with our younger students as they go through. So I would like to thank the board for allowing us to do that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Thompson, Director of Teaching and Learning, to discuss academic standards in the Jedi Virtual School.
Yes. This is the time of year that we always approve the academic standards for the upcoming school year. I have included for you the content areas and then the Wisconsin academic standards that they align to. The only update would be in math that would be different from last year to this year. That DPI has updated the math standards they updated them last year, so we'll be working on them this year. Steven Mulovich from CISA 2 will be helping us through some of those updates. But other than that, all of the standards remain the same as last year. Our JEDI virtual program, we will of course be offering in-person learning, and instead of our own virtual learning like we did last year, we'll be offering virtual learning through JEDI, which we've been a consortium district with for many, many years. If a family is interested in learning more about JEDI, they need to contact the school office and the school counselor, and the counselor will set up a meeting to walk through the process of what JEDI entails, what the requirements are, and the alignment to our school district and the courses that we're taking. One big thing that we'll be looking at is the success that students had in virtual learning last year. If they were successful with completing their assignments, their grades were kept up, and their attendance was on track, then JEDI would be an option. If those things were not in place, if they had any problems with attendance, keeping their grades up, being on track with learning targets, then JEDI learning would not be for them, and we'd want them here in-person learning. Any questions?
Is JEDI open to just high school, or will it be open K through high school?
We've had the most success with JEDI at the high school level. If there are families that with extenuating circumstances that want to explore it in kindergarten through 8th grade, that would be an option. But we know that high school students have had a lot of success with JEDI.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Naylor, Director of Business Services.
Thank you. So to just recap a little bit about our budget adjustments from the 2020-2021 school year, the budget adjustments approved tonight are the fewest that we've had to make in many years. The items over budget are because of a few items such as a new student who needed additional services, a staff benefit change, additional consulting services, additional costs for workers' compensation resulting from the annual compensation audit. And almost all of the line items that were under budget were allowed to be covered by other line items. So attached is a document that will be sent to the newspaper for the board after the board approves these adjustments. In regards to the July 1 aid estimate, just real quick recap for Lake Mills Area School District, our aid estimate was $8,887,418, which is about an $8,000 increase over last year. And a reminder that the annual meeting will be held on July 26th with the budget hearing at 7 p.m. and the annual meeting following at 7:30. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Dr. Olson.
All right, first of all, I want to start out with a quick celebration. We found out late this afternoon that Quentin Saylor was a National Merit Scholarship winner. I don't know if you realize what an incredible accomplishment that is, not only for a student, but how that reflects on the district. That is a very hard thing to win, and so he just very, very deserving, and we're excited about that. Secondly, just wanted to provide some facility updates. Our core team had about a week ago toured a couple of elementary schools that were newer builds in the area, and just to kind of get an idea of what was out there as far as new construction, we saw 3 fairly different floor plans of elementary, intermediate buildings, some 1-story, some 2-story, looked at the advantages of some different open spaces, and just started to get some ideas that if we were to go to referendum to build a new primary school, what are some ideas that we might want to incorporate. One of the buildings that we did tour was the new Forest Edge out in Oregon, just because that is being advertised as a net zero building. So we had some discussions on how far we would want to possibly go with sustainability, how do the benefits outweigh the costs. So that was a really interesting tour. We'll be looking soon at our enrollment update. We did a revised enrollment update only because, as all of you have seen, there's a lot of new construction going on in Lake Mills between new houses and also new apartment buildings. So we wanted to make sure that we had some accurate information to base our decisions on. So we'll keep moving forward with facilities. We do have a communications meeting tomorrow, so we haven't really communicated out to the public a lot about this process just because there hasn't been really a lot to communicate. Everything is really just in the exploratory stages. No decisions have been made yet. So as we get further into that, we'll be looking at a communication strategy. Secondly, tonight the strategic plan is up for approval. I know all of the board members participated in that process, as well as approximately 43, 45 other people from the public. We had a pretty diverse showing. We actually had an all call, so anybody that wanted to participate in this process could. We didn't really deny anyone that possibility. So I think I'm most excited that, yes, we have awesome wording on that, but we worked with a graphic artist and we were able, I think, to reflect a plan that looks like Lake Mills and not just a generic plan that would sit on the shelf. Now, we spent about 3 days working on this portion of the plan. It's nowhere near finished because to have a plan without any way to monitor that is just, well, that's nice to say, but how do you know you're making progress towards that? As I stated during our strategic planning seminars, the admin team was going to participate in the SAIL Institute, which was a leadership institute hosted by our state principal organization. So we spent 3 days together, 3 full days. And I would say it got a little heated every once in a while, and it was really trying to get down to like your core beliefs of why are you in this work, and taking a good, hard, honest look at our data. And we really identified that students with disabilities are not performing well in ELA and math. We do need to do some work on writing at the high school, and we're really going to take a good hard look at English language arts from grades 4 to 8, because we're just seeing a little bit of a downward trend in our overall test scores there. So we're really going to get to the root problem of who is not performing to where they need to be, and how do we make sure that kids don't fall through those gaps. Part of that plan already started with the additional hire of a literacy coach at the middle school level who will be working closely with our teachers there, and also work on providing interventions as well. We also changed some staffing and moved that up to the middle school as well, so we're really already putting that emphasis on reading. However, that was just a bigger overview. We will now in August have data team meetings with all the building leadership groups from each one of the buildings. They'll dig down deeper into that data even further, and they'll be setting the school learning goals for that, which will go down into the individual student learning objectives for each one of the teachers. The other probably biggest thing that we noticed when we worked together as an admin team is we just really didn't have a good meeting process in place to monitor that data. So we knew things maybe weren't quite going in a certain direction, but how do we keep ourselves accountable? How do we keep the teachers accountable and really expect that growth out of students? And if students aren't growing, how do we help the students and the teachers? So we really looked at all of our meetings that we have across the district, and district meetings, school level meetings, grade level meetings, and are really working to revamp the meeting structure with some specific outcomes for those meetings as well, so everybody knows this is why we're meeting, this is a goal of the meeting, and we're going to continue to meet on a monthly basis to make sure that kids aren't slipping through the cracks. We will be bringing you that data 3 times a year so that you can see the work that's being done at each one of the buildings, and that will also allow us to adjust the plan accordingly during the school year so that we don't get to the semester in January and it's like, oh, well, we got all these kids that are already behind. Or you get to the end of the year and it's a little bit too late to do anything about that. So we really want to make sure that we're living that plan and adjusting along the way. That really, in essence, accounts for the first pillar of the strategic plan, which is fostering student engagement and learning. And that also came out loud and clear at the strategic planning meetings. So really also keeping a close eye on our students that are economically disadvantaged. We've seen some significant achievement gaps with that group. That's confidential data, so it's a little harder to share out with people, but we'll just be looking at what can we do as a system to make sure that we aren't seeing those gaps. I'm going to flip over to the aligning resources with the needs to create a sustainable, proactive operational plan that fosters growth and allows for flexibility. That's really going to be working towards this possible referendum in April or November, really looking at the facilities planning, making sure that we do have the resources that we need to be able to educate students. Already we are seeing, some pretty extensive waiting lists and open enrollment that we are right now saying that no, you can't come in because our classrooms are full. So we want to make sure that that we do have the space that we need to account for the growth in the community. The second one, developing and retaining effective leadership and staff. This was a hard year on teaching staff. We lost a lot of teachers just to the profession overall, just done with education going out more into the private sectors. We also lost a lot of paraprofessionals for the same reason. And I think that we've seen state and nationwide, but we really need to look at how do we really recruit a diverse workforce, and then once we have them, what do we do during that induction phase, and how do we support them through those first 2 or 3 years of employment in the district, which can be some of the hardest, especially if you're a new teacher out of college. So Amanda and I have been, as I've stated before, working on the peer mentoring grant. We haven't heard from DPI if we have received that or not. Regardless, we're moving forward with the plan, and so that's just a matter of putting that plan down on paper, but we do have a whole induction plan that is written out per the peer mentoring grant. And then I think most people across the state are really working on how do you recruit a diverse workforce, and not only how do you recruit a diverse workforce, how do you also keep them, because you've got to nurture a culture that is accepting so that people want to work and stay here and feel supported by teachers, administration, the board, and the community. So a lot of research out there that shows that students actually learn better from teachers of color, especially I've just cited a research paper on Black and Latinx teachers, that when they see people that represent themselves, that they are actually more engaged during the school day. Finally, connecting school and community, which really talks about nurturing a culture that values diversity, mental health, career pathways, and inclusivity. And that is really a hefty part of that pillar. You heard a presentation last month on career pathways from Victoria Pratt. We'll be moving forward with the Heartland Initiative to try to build the career pathways, try to build our youth apprenticeship program, industry certifications, and business partnerships. We're also looking, we've been working on curriculum for our social emotional learning program, looking at some different resources and embedding that into our staff development. One thing I know we do need to work on is enhancing our EL program. I don't think we're still quite there with making sure that everything we put out from the district is translated into Spanish, making sure that our buildings and our information are accessible to all families in the district. There's still some barriers there. And then, real honestly, just still breaking down all those barriers we see, whether you're Black, brown, LGBTQ, whatever. We're still, we're still experiencing some bullying. We even experienced a little bit in summer school. So there's some work to do still with, a lot of work to do yet with diversity. So we will be spelling those out, monitoring them, bringing that information back to the board, and seeing how we're working on that. I think the great thing is this is a 5-year plan, because there's no way you're going to achieve all of this in 1 year. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're all holding each other accountable for that work.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is for community input. We have a number of people who have indicated an interest in speaking to the board. Is that correct?
Yes, we have 8 people, so if we have a 15-minute time limit, we're about 2 minutes per speaker. And then when we get down to the last 2 speakers, I'll just ask for some contact information because I don't have contact information for the last 2. So, also, we've asked to identify the topics that we're speaking on. That helps us plan as well as far as the time limit, especially if it's multiple speakers on the same topic.
Okay, and I would also point out that the point of community input is for the board to understand different perspectives and points of view from the community, not necessarily to engage in discussion with the board. And so I would ask, as your name is called, if you would come to the podium, state your name, address, and begin your remarks.
Before that happens, can I make a move the board extend the community input portion of the meeting to allow each participant a maximum of 3 minutes to speak? I make a motion, yes.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? May we please have a roll call vote?
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Dawn Delaney,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Amy Litcher,
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. So there will be a timer, and so we can begin. No, you may not, sir.
Brenda Morris, you are the first speaker.
Hi, my name is Brenda Morris, and I'm an English teacher at Lake Mills High School, and I wanted to speak about the 2021 to 2026 LMASD strategic plan that Dr. Olson just went over. I served on the strategic planning committee, and I'm really proud of the work we did, and I'm proud of the transparent and democratic process used to develop this plan. Our facilitator, Joe Schrader, skillfully coordinated the efforts of a diverse group representing parents, students, district employees, school board members, and community members. The group came to consensus on a mission and vision and a set of belief statements and goals that accurately reflect the successes I've seen over the 22 years I've been employed here and set us on a path to build on those successes over the next 5 years. I'm especially proud of our student participants who spoke up on behalf of all their fellow students. Seeing our students demonstrate such leadership is what has made working at Lake Mills High School so rewarding. Our students inspire me every day. Not only did I enjoy working with the committee as diverse voices shared ideas about how to move our district forward, I am also proud of how the plan we produced celebrates and continues our successes and addresses some areas of concern. One area of concern is the opportunity gaps we see for students of color and students with disabilities. As teachers, we collect and analyze data regularly to ensure that our intended outcomes are being met. The data shows that while many of our students are successful, both in school and beyond school, our students of color and students with disabilities lag behind. I'm happy to see that the strategic plan calls upon us to work purposefully to ensure that our students of color and students with disabilities succeed. I'm also proud that we reaffirmed our belief in student-centered learning, the importance of critical thinking, and the importance of arts, athletics, and other activities to our overall education program. I've seen Lake Mills schools live these values for my entire career here, and they are the foundation of our students' success beyond school. I look forward to seeing the district continue to embody these values through activities that foster critical thinking throughout the curriculum and continued investments of time and staffing in music, art, world language, career and technical education, and our school libraries, as well as the extracurricular activities that foster the growth of well-rounded individuals ready to become active citizens in a democratic society and the global community. Thank you for the opportunity to be involved in this important work.
Thank you, Brenda. Stacey Ramsey.
Hi, I'm Stacey Ramsey. I live on Margaret Street in Lake Mills. I'm just here to say a few words regarding the new district pillars of the strategic plan. I don't know who wrote these, but I wonder if any of you agree that there are some glaring omissions, words that are customarily associated with education, words like ability, academics, accomplishment, applicable skills, aptitude, competence, excellence, knowledge, literacy, mastery, preparedness, and proficiency. None of these words appear in the pillars, and it's concerning because according to 3 websites which rank public school districts, only 45 to 51%, only half of Lake Mills students are testing proficient in math and reading. These pillars are built on sand. They read like word salad from a social revolutionary's handbook, and we, the parents and taxpayers, are fed up with it. And quit sexualizing our children. If this district keeps de-emphasizing rigorous academics, prepare to not only know all of us on a first name basis, but be prepared to continue to lose enrollment to private schools and to homeschooling. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stacey. Nikki Giraud.
Thank you, Ms. Ramish.
Nikki Giraud.
Giraud, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, you're next, Nikki. Thank you.
Nikki Giraud, I'm sorry, before you put the timer on, I have to excuse my voice. I was at the Brewer game on Saturday night. So a lot of screaming, screeching, and cheering. Nikki Giraud, 1021 East Mills Drive. I'm here to talk about critical race theory, equity, diversity, whatever other word you prefer to use, it's all the same. Some may shrug it off as the latest hot topic that certain groups are fussing about. But in reality, this is a very serious movement that is taking over our schools and teaching our children to hate each other. I come from a country where the racial divide has been a hot topic for many, many years. I grew up during the apartheid era. Who here thinks that apartheid was a good thing? Anyone? CRT is exactly that. Why would you condone a movement here in the USA that segregates people according to the color of their skin if you sit here and agree that apartheid was wrong? You only need to Google what's going on in South Africa as I'm speaking to see the path that America is going to go down if these movements are not stopped in their tracks. America has always been the country of the free with opportunities for all, regardless of race, age, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Believe me, I come from a country with no such reputation. I am now going to quote some prose that proceed from his longer musings written by Adam Coleman. He's the author and founder of Wrong Speak Publishing and the book Black Victim to Black Victor. Himself a black man, born in Detroit who was fatherless and at one point homeless. And I quote, "Why must I live in the past with the pain of my ancestors instead of creating a future of hope? Why does my pigmentation determine my aspirations? Why does wanting aspirations of racial togetherness make me a traitor? Why is Martin Luther King Jr. given hero status when we never listen to our hero's message? Why is white supremacy bad and black supremacy good? Why is hatred seen as subjective instead of objective? Why must black people fit in a box? Why aren't we allowed to decide for ourselves? Why must I fit a narrative? Why must I focus on race instead of class? Why does everyone think they need to help black people? Why are black people tolerating low expectations from the liberal elite? Why must black people be America's charity case? Why do we wait for the government to save us when we are capable of saving ourselves? If the greatest danger to a black man in America is the white man, then why do the most successful black people choose to live amongst them? Could it be the political elite that find us more beneficial divided than united? Why are we not willing to admit that there's been an immense progress made? Is it because we are secretly afraid of losing our leverage over white guilt? Are we more in love with complaining than repairing? Do we believe we can achieve prosperity without the help of anyone else? Do we want to be America's perpetual victim? I unquote now. Critical race theory violates everything Martin Luther King set out to achieve. What did he say? We shall not judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. CRT is doing exactly the opposite and focusing only on the color of people's skin. This needs to be stopped before more damage is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Next up, we have Kim Nesting Lund. Kim Nesting Lund.
Hi. As a member of the team that volunteered to participate in the strategic planning process, I want to emphasize that this wasn't a collaborative process where people shared diverse perspectives, listened respectfully to each other and the diverse perspectives, and where all decisions were made based on a majority vote. All decisions were made based on majority vote, including by members of the school board. I appreciate the active role that school board members played in the planning process. The plan considers the needs of all students in the Lake Mills School District. It emphasizes student-teacher relationships and students' sense of belonging, which research shows are important to the academic learning as well as mental and emotional well-being. It describes an intentional effort to provide more opportunity and support for students whose career interests are not focused on pursuing a four-year degree following their high school graduation. And after many difficult discussions among those of us writing the plan, it addresses the needs of diverse students in the district, whether that diversity is based on race or ethnicity, ability, native language, country of origin, or any other identity characteristic. We worked hard, we worked personally, we worked respectfully, and I think we all challenged ourselves with trying to understand other people's perspectives to better serve the students in the district. The plan is future-looking by considering the needs of faculty and staff professional development, community building, and diversity. It also includes responsible and responsive financial planning, and these are both important to ensuring stability in the district, stability that is critical to students' learning. Finally, the plan encompasses the district's beliefs about the importance of critical thinking, that students need to be actively engaged in their learning, being supported to reach their full potential, being valued by everyone in the school community, having their interests and talents in and outside of the school building celebrated. The plan also includes the beliefs that all families are important, community involvement in our schools is valuable, and that all of us must continually to work to learn about each other, to listen to each other, and to recognize our worth as members of this community. The strategic plan itself is not divisive. It is not a political agenda. There is nothing in the strategic plan related to critical race theory. The strategic plan is a thoughtful, intentional guide for the success of all students in the Lake Mills School District, and it's an opportunity for those of us that disagree and disagree strongly to come together and talk respectfully to understand each other better for the good of all of our students.
Thank you, Kim. A.J. Radel.
Hello. Thank you to the board members who take the time to research what's on our agenda, who email us back and stand up for the people. Last time I spoke, I asked how much funding was provided from the COVID relief plan per student. That question still goes unanswered. As far as the COVID funding goes, we know there is money that hasn't been touched, a lot of it to be correct. The teachers and the community all think that cops and bus drivers should wear body cams. But why not have body cams in our classroom? Or not body cams, but just cameras in our classroom. The cameras will not only protect our students and our teachers from any falsely wrong accusations, but the teachers would be made sure to stay on point as far as our new curriculum is being presented to us, and they would have to follow it according to Ms. Olson. There's no CRT in our classrooms. So, if indoctrinating our children isn't happening, what do you have to hide? Lastly, we the parents know there's a curriculum that needs to be followed. Yet who is approving the work being presented to these children? And who's being held liable for what's being taught in our classrooms? When do we start holding teachers or the director of curriculum liable for indoctrinating our children? We, the parents, have every right to see on a doc forum each week, if not months in advance, what's being taught in our classrooms. Because if we don't approve of it, our kids can be dismissed that day or can do something else to make up for it. And on that doc forum, it should be on the computer, books, anything. But if there's nothing to hide, show it, prove it, let us be a part of the classroom when we can't be there personally. Thank you.
AJ, I'll follow up with you in an email, but there are federal laws outlining guidelines of cameras in the classroom. Things were exempted last year during the COVID, so I'll follow up in an email to you, explain that a little bit further, okay? All right, Melanie Fritz.
My name is Melanie Fritz. Good evening. I have 2 kids in the district as of last year. My boys have afforded me the awareness on multiple occasions that children do not see color, not in the sense implied by educators today. This is something we are taught. To children, color is an adjective used to describe characteristics alone until someone else assigns it otherwise. I want to share a few stories with you. An aide on a field trip in another district was trying to find my son's partner after a bathroom break prior to loading the buses. His partner was dark-skinned. Her father was Jamaican, her mom white. This aide questioned my son about his buddy's appearance over and over, asking, "What does she look like?" As they attempted to find her, he answered with what she was wearing, her hair color, and what her backpack looked like, but not the color of her skin. The chaperone shared this story with me later. She had conveyed that she had asked him point blank about other defining characteristics specifically, and he simply had no clue what she was talking about. Recently, one of my sons came home and told me he had been pulled into a conversation with an adult about his privilege. He began the conversation with, "You might not love this, Mom." I told him I was ready for anything, and he continued. They told me how lucky I was to be born white and what a privilege it was. They went on to convey how difficult it would be to be born with dark skin, especially in big cities where they are having fighting right now, and how hard it is to have dark skin and be treated poorly by white people. He may very well have paraphrased, as kids sometimes do, but had we recounted that conversation in public, how well do you think that would have gone over if overheard? How did it sound to you? I know that they meant well. I have too many stories of confusion surrounding CRT curriculum amongst youngsters to share. Teaching our children that they are responsible for slavery and the difficulties of their peers is like holding an Asian American student accountable for Pearl Harbor. I grasp what we all mean to be better people and avoid repeating history. But if you pause for a moment and really consider the words as they cross your lips, your heart may begin to understand. I fear you may be inadvertently reinforcing the division and the racism you are trying so desperately to eradicate. When we know better, we do better. I truly hope you will take more time to have conversations with parents of all ethnicities about their concerns regarding CRT instead of collaborating or corroborating with those labeling concerned parents as inmates, misinformed, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, and so much worse. I hope we can come back together and do what's best for the health and education of all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Next is Astrid Thompson.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Astrid Thompson. I was born in Venezuela, and probably you can tell by my accent, correct? I'm here, and I prepared some things to tell you about communism and how it is to live back home, because there is nothing better than to learn from people who have experience in certain areas or that have lived in countries in which some things are not right. Like in Venezuela, communism have taken the country into downward spiral, out of control, hyperinflation, and many other things. And I had prepared a lot of things that I wanted to talk, but I'm just going to focus on education because that's what we're here for. And what I'm wanted to talk about is how it all started. Back home, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson, in the 50s and 60s, those people who were around very young students were basically trying to take over the country and have their revolution. They couldn't do it, so they became university professors who were starting to indoctrinate people in the universities. Therefore, these were the people who were indoctrinating the future teachers of high schools and middle schools and elementary schools. Why am I saying this? Because I see the same things happening here in the US. I'm a US citizen, by the way, and I love my country more than anything. I've been here for over 25 years. The reason I say this is because I see the same thing happening here. When I study a little bit of American history, I see that the same group of people who had the ideals of a revolution in this country also went underground into universities. Case in point, Bill Ayers and his minions, they became the people who started indoctrinating people at the universities, the students. They became the people who taught the future teachers how to teach. And fast forward, this is where we're now, teaching kids critical race theory. What is critical race theory? It really doesn't really matter much. It's a surface division. Back home, the division cannot be with color because there isn't any difference in color. The division happens with social class. Anyways, I just want to let you know that the same thing happened back home. It might be a social difference, but it's the same thing. Don't let the division happen here because what's coming is not pretty.
Thank you, Astrid. Next up is Niki Englert.
Hi, I'm Niki Englert, 207 Crestview Lane, and I just wanted to come here, did not call, and just remind us all how every time we come up here, whether it's children talking or parents talking, we are speaking to you as residents from our community, and we really, really appreciate it when people actually are listened to and also acknowledged. For people who may not have been aware, the 2 meetings ago, there were students and parents that stood up here and talked about the damage of their mental health that happened all this last school year because of the results of wearing the face mask and having that forced upon them, and then also being bullied about that by their teachers. This did not impact you at all. None of you acknowledged those students. None of you acknowledged the parents who came up here and spoke in tears about what was happening to their children. There was no acknowledgement given at the time, and that is very concerning to us as residents in this community who do not, no matter how hard we try to figure out how all these things come to play in your decision-making process and how plugged in we try to be, we can't seem to penetrate, to get in, to cause any effect. So as these people are talking about how they see some of the words that you're using and some of the language and how you're trying to address curriculum moving forward, they see the dangers, but you seem to not really care when they're addressing you. And it's concerning to a lot of us. And we don't think this is funny. We're not trying to be divisive. We're trying to be here with you because we're not seeing our word, our voice being taken seriously. Speaking of bullying, which did happen in the schools to students regarding their decisions and their concerns about wearing that face mask repeatedly because of the mental health issues that it was causing, I would like to also remind all of you about the upcoming school year, which you have not made a clear decision about with the use of face masks in your school district. that under Wisconsin statute 252.043, it states, anytime any school notifies a student, parent, guardian, or legal custodian of the immunization requirements, it shall inform the person in writing of the person's right to waiver under this subsection, which means every time you encourage a staff member or a student or a parent to go out and get the latest version of an injection or a vaccination, you must also at that same time, under state statute, inform them in writing that they have the legal right to not get the injection, and then you must not discriminate against them. So at one of the meetings, there was an insurance person, I believe, that attended, speaking on behalf of your school district, and he had suggested that unvaccinated students may need to remain masked where the rest of the students may be unmasked. If you are seriously considering the damaging effects of critical race theory or other things regarding mental illness, please remember the students that came up here and spoke to you about the damages of the face mask to their mental illness when you move forward in making your decisions.
Thank you, Nikki. I can follow up with you tomorrow as well on some of those topics. All right, that is it for public comment.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And that consists specifically of the approval of the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of June 14th, the approval of the June 14th Finance Committee proceedings, approval of the Treasurer's report, approval of vouchers and invoices, approval of the personnel report. And so I would ask, is there any item that I just mentioned that you wish to consider separately? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney. Aye. Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the other action items. The first item is the approval of the 2021-2026 Lake Mills Area School District Strategic Plan. I think that we've had a discussion during Dr. Olson's report, discussing the plan. We also heard from people in the community about their views on the plan. Again, I think it needs to be pointed out that during the development of that plan, the community was invited to participate. A large number of people did participate. It is my view that the outcome of that was a result of a whole bunch of different ideas being discussed and agreed to. From the discussion of Dr. Olson's, it appears that this is a framework. It is not specific action items. It is a framework under which action items may occur over the next 5 years. So I would ask for a motion for the approval of that strategic plan and go from there.
I move the board approve the 2021-26 Lake Mills Area School District Strategic Plan as presented.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Questions or comments?
Just a comment, as far as the plan that was prepared, I feel that the plan should be approved, and the reason being the top and where the rubber meets the road, where it's preparing all of today's students for tomorrow's opportunities. That includes the child that's in AP Calculus and the first grader that is having struggle reading and everyone in between. And I feel that that is the top part of it. And I also feel where the rubber will meet the road in this plan are the performance metrics, which include, as far as the first pillar, the fostering student engagement, basically the academics, the standardized testing, the student growth in ELA and STEM, the state report card growth, parent engagement metrics. I feel that in the developing and retaining effective leadership and staff, that the metrics of staff turnover rate, number of teachers with master's degrees and specialized degrees, exit themes and staff recognition are very important. The connecting the school to the community, student participation in apprenticeship and internships, as well as those in the co-curriculars, in the extracurriculars, in all the extra things, the satisfaction, the number of volunteers. I feel those are all important things to metrics, and then aligning our resources, adhering to the long-range facilities plan, and keeping an eye out for the fund balance as a percentage of the overall budget. I look forward to seeing the plans developed, measured against these performance metrics, and look forward to seeing that every third of a year, I guess. so that's why I support the plan. Thank you.
Other comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question and ask for a roll call vote.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the academic standards.
I move the board approve the district's student academic standards for the 2021-2022 school year pursuant to section 120.12(13).
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those standards were discussed in Ms. Thompson's presentation earlier in the meeting. Any comments or questions on those? Roll call vote, please.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the budget adjustments for the 2021 school year. Ms. Naylor went through that, or actually, Ms. Brockert went through that discussion. Sorry, Wendy. And as I understand it, that it nets out at zero, and those are changes to reflect the reality that happened within the overall framework. So I entertain a motion for its approval.
I move the board approve the budget adjustments for the 2020-2021 school year.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the approval of an agreement with the Johnson Creek School District for Crossroads 2 programming for the upcoming school year. This is for students who need additional support. And if I understand it, we have been involved with the Johnson Creek District over the years, and this has been a very successful endeavor. So it asks for a motion for its approval.
I move the board approve the 66.0301 agreement with the Johnson Creek School District for Crossroads 2 programming for the 21-22 school year.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval of Lake Mills Recreation Department rental agreement. This is viewed as a interim step for the Recreation Department. They need additional space. They are currently located in the district office, and that relocation will enable some additional people from the district to work in the office as well. So I'd entertain a motion for approval of that lease.
I move the board approve the Lake Mills Recreation Department rental agreement as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. This was discussed in more detail in the Finance Committee meeting preceding this meeting, so I would ask for a roll call vote.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye, that motion carries. The next is the approval of a maintenance floor machine. This is for the high school, so I'd entertain a motion for its approval.
I move the board approve the purchase of a Clark Focus 2 Boost 28-inch orbital scrubber from NASCO for $10,112.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and it should be pointed out that this was as a result of competitive bidding for this piece of equipment. So it was also discussed in the Finance Committee meeting, and I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of gifts. And again, our community has been very supportive and generous in providing gifts to the district. And so I would ask for a motion to accept the donations.
I move the board accept the following gift and thank the generous donors for their continued support of the students and programs of the Lake Mills Area School District. A $100 donation to the Lake Mills High School Agricultural Department to honor the marriage of John and Kim Weiss from Scott and Nancy Schultz.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Again, we're very grateful and ask for a roll call vote.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye. That motion carries. Next is upcoming agenda items. Dr. Olson, do you have some?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're already talking about the August meeting, and like one of the individuals mentioned in public comment, we haven't worked on any back-to-school items because it's a little bit too early. I know that they're just starting to have some superintendent meetings across the state, but the parents that have asked me, I know we've tried to say like we're trying to go back to school is about as normal as possible, but we'll be working through that in the next couple of weeks. I imagine that'll be a point of discussion on that August 9th meeting. However, there is somebody here that won't have any future board meetings, and there's a vase of flowers sitting right in front of her. So this is Wendy Brockert's last official business meeting. So Bob, I'll let you take it away with that.
So Wendy, we've known each other for really a long time. You, of course, preceded me in the district, but I caught up in 2004. And over those years working with you, I have been very, very amazed at your abilities. School finance is a very strange animal. It is way different than business finance, home budgeting. And you worked through all those things, and you kept us very enlightened. And our district continues to be in reasonably good financial shape. And you, as the author of that, are to be thanked. The other thing about Wendy is that she has been very active in the statewide organization for school business officials. She's been an officer I believe you were president for one term at least. And you were honored by them as an outstanding business manager. So Wendy, a colleague, a friend, and a mentor. We will miss you, and we wish you and Steve all the happiness as you move into that journey where every day is Saturday. So
I can't wait.
enjoy, and with our gratitude, thank you so much. So, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you very much.